Welcome, 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 my lovely sisters and brothers. Thank you so much for being present, and thank you for being present today with another live book reading. Today, I'm doing from a different book this time, Simulations and the Wheels of Time in the Developing World. Um, in the battles between shadow and light, the next chapter, that's chapter 11, is all about consummation. But because I already have done that, uh, I spoke about the inverted consummation. I think it's good to have two different topics in between and then start with chapter 11 from the battles of shadow and light. Um, So today we are going to get an understanding of what in actuality is a human mind. There are different layers of mind operating to from the lowest dimensions and densities up to the highest. Depending on our state of awareness, we use the parts of our mind that are available to us here in the matrix. Here in the matrix, the range within which our minds can operate is extremely limited compared to the expanded universal mind we have access to once we have exited the matrix. The more dimensions we can use at our convenience, the more expanded our minds become, because we are all captured in an encapsulated construct. We can only access a small part of our entire mind structure, even when we believe we are using our conscious mind and think between quotation marks logically. Um, we normally only use the matrix mind. So we normally only use the matrix mind, which is often flawed, extremely imperfect, and overly egotistical, building its between quotation marks knowledge from very limited data. Only when we start reconnecting with the higher self are we using portions of what is available to us in the greater universe. Therefore, I stressed earlier that intuition, imagination, and inner knowledge are superior to anything we can learn here. What we call our conscious mind on earth is still just a little fraction of what we use daily when it comes to mind. Two major parts of the matrix mind we use are the subconscious and the unconscious minds, respectively. So let us briefly discuss the three different parts of the mind we use in the matrix, and the fourth that we are using outside. The unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is the genetic mind that connects the entire human soul group in a massive network where we are all connected on one level as a mass consciousness. We look at it as a complex grid where we are all influencing each other. It was designed this way. So we could operate both individually and as one unit. We are connected genetically through our common DNA, transformed into our physical Homo sapiens sapiens bodies, and brought forward through the generations. These genetic memories are mixed with all other people's genetic memories, regardless of if we are immediate family or not. When a portion of our three-unit composite incarnates, uh, the so-called higher self, into one of those bodies, we immediately connect to the, between quotation marks, network, and we become part of the mass consciousness. Thus, we sometimes even experience that we can read each other's thoughts, which we usually find quite amusing. The genetic mind combined with the three-unit consciousness powers the entire matrix network containing a massive amount of energy. So the genetic mind combined with the three-unit composite consciousness, powers the entire matrix network containing a massive amount of energies. So the controllers, the Khan Kings, then connected this energy to create a massive energy grid around our planet, also keeping the matrix isolated from outside forces, with us humans trapped inside the grid. So this grid that is placed around the Earth is in actuality made by our energy from our genetic mind combined with the three-unit composite consciousness. And so this powers the entire matrix network. So now you can see how every single bit of us is misused and abused. I must add that being connected on an unconscious level is not always a bad thing. Something similar is most likely done in many places in the physical universe. On the developing worlds, planets and stars that host life forms of some kind. Yeah, I can imagine that, though here the things are different because it's being misused. It works as a weapon against all life forms here on planet, this grid. And I can imagine that this grid structure is indeed in many places in the physical universe, but the energy that is being generated and then from there created a grid that is not misused and abused as a weapon against all life forms, as it is here on Earth. When creator gods create a soul group in a particular world, they want them to evolve in a certain direction, although the soul group will still have free will within their construct. Mostly the soul groups are meant to evolve collectively so they can graduate from their worlds as one complete unit, and not just as individuals, one at a time. Of course, once they have left their construct and continued their journeys out in the greater universe, they also leave their physical body behind, which netted them together and they become true individuals. So here in the matrix, however, even though it was done similarly, it was done in a selfish, malicious attempt to gain power and control over this human and thus our human soul group and thus us. Enki, later perfected by the Khan kings, gave us full amnesia, subjected us to death. So death is not part of life. It is an artificial construct in that sense, because we are from origin immortal beings, so we never die. We only shed off the body, that's it. Um, and we do not have to go through this ridiculous process of dying. And even shorten it our lifespan, so one life is not enough to make any significant progress. So we die, get a new memory wipe, and are shot down into a new body, having to start all over again, creating a new personality. The only memories we have are genetic, which are mostly not even our own, but those of our ancestors. The three-unit composite who incarnates into a human body remembers nothing or next to nothing of their past lives and their learning experiences. This is intentional to keep us asleep and ignorant, so the brainwashing and programming can continue lifetime after lifetime. Then we go to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the family bloodline, I.E., our ancestors' bloodline, comprising their DNA. However, as mentioned in my previous work, we always reincarnate into the same bloodline each lifetime. This means that if you give birth to a child today, after you die, you will be forced to incarnate into your grandchild's or great-grandchild's body. And this also explains why we often say Sally looks almost in character like grandma. And we're not saying that without a reason. So there is something in us that recognizes this. Well, this something in us is the true spirit in us that is recognizing this. Unconsciously, as a collective, we have always known this, yes, through the spirit, because spirit can reveal things to us, and also on a collective level. Therefore, people are eager to have children. They need a body to come back to. If we are childless, we cannot reincarnate and must continue our contained lives in the astral dimensions, or perhaps incarnated in a body of our siblings' descendants. Still, we who are on the path to see through the manipulation and the falsehoods need not worry about that. Even if we are childless, because we are not coming back, many of the readers of this book will most likely leave the matrix after this lifetime. And who wants to put children into this world anyways, knowing that you sent them directly into the singularity, which is the future? It is because of the subconscious mind we sometimes say that certain traits between quotation marks run in the family, whether they are positive or negative traits. When you are born, it is not the first time you incarnate into your current bloodline. So you also inherit your own memories in this sense, although they are mixed with all the other ancestor memories, making it impossible to distinguish between what is what. In addition, also discussed in previous books, we all have the DNA of Ninurta, the Khan kings, Enki, Marduk, Isis, and Ereshkigal, which makes us even more confused and conflicted because that DNA also plays out in us. This could also explain this whole idea of discrimination. Maybe we need to look far more deeper than we do and understand of what discrimination is. Discrimination can also take place because some genetics are in fight with the genetics in the other person, because maybe the other person is more of the Marduk Ereshkigal bloodline, and person A is more of the Enki Isis bloodline. Yeah, and then they start to fight with each other. And then out of the blue, you as two human beings start to fight with one another without any um, clear reason for that fight, because all of a sudden you feel something happening in you. These are these genetics that recognizes that the other person is from a different genetic bloodline. And then they are playing out among each other. And what happens in the physical world, this is being played out in all of a sudden being agitated uh, onto one another, or you start a fight with the other person without a real reason. So we need to look different um, to things such as racism, discrimination, and so on. Which makes us even more confused and conflicted, creating extreme difficulties in sorting out where our true identity is in this giant blend. By, by and large, it is because of the subconscious mind. It is so difficult for humans to evolve, and we engage in the same types of conflicts, wars, and destructive acts now as we did thousands of years ago. So nothing has changed in that sense. We are not active, we are reactive. Therefore, the subconscious mind is often called the reactive mind. Therefore, um, if there is a stimulus, it triggers something in our overall DNA and we react, mostly automatically and destructively. It takes an evolved three-unit composite to override their unconscious and subconscious mind. In fact, among the human soul group, people are operating almost completely from their subconscious and unconscious minds, i.e., on a genetic level, which is reactive and stimulus and responsive. With all this in mind, it is quite sad but interesting also to observe a family situation where two children are subjected to similar abuse by their parents. Still, they react differently. One child may develop into a narcissist or psychopath as a defense and survival mechanism, while the other child chooses a more reclusive approach and becomes codependent. I would suggest the difference between the two lies not so much in the genetic minds, but in the soul development, the soul evolution. Although the three-unit composite is born with full amnesia, their soul development over the millennia is still there. And a soul who made better choices in previous lives might act more passively to abuse, having more empathy and compassion than the child who develops narcissism or psychopathy. With the unconscious and subconscious minds combined within us, we can see that we are not truly individuals, not in the matrix. A larger collective network affects us, first on a subconscious and then on an unconscious level. Both minds are downloaded into the developing fetus before birth, and the incarnating three-unit composite then inherits both. These two minds can easily be programmed and manipulated, and they continuously are doing so. We have another network at play, which is connected at its separate level. And this network comprises many components, highly trained individuals who are in direct connection with the interdimensional controllers, the proxies and minions, whom we call the oligarchs and the elite, run this network. They are running this network. These are the worldly slash global elite. They are the spiders in the web. They run the big corporations, the banking system, the media, the entertainment, the education, each and every government, each and every politician, and thus politics, presidents and dictators, kings and queens, and everything else that has an authoritarian impact on the rest of humankind. This network thus indoctrinates and manipulates the masses. Because we humans are all connected on an unconscious level, the elite only needs to manipulate approximately 3% of the population, which is round about 192 million people. And then the rest, or most of us, get in line. It is called the 100th monkey syndrome, and it has been scientifically proven to work by studying monkeys. This manipulation starts early in life, and little children get indoctrinated between ages of 3 and 14 years to prepare them for adult life, which is a life of slavery, where each person is a cog in the wheel, creating fortunes for big business, corporations, banking system, and thus for the overlords. While the individual who does the job for them and bring income to the corporation often lives near existence minimum. The conscious mind We also call the conscious mind the logical mind, although it is up for debate how, between quotation marks, logical it is. This is the mind that is being measured in IQ tests. For example, these tests are set up in such a way that they give you points when you can think in line with the matrix, often using mathematical skills or connecting physically oriented dots. It does never include emotional or spiritual intelligence. The so-called right brain intelligence. In this construct, in this matrix, everything is based on mathematics. So if you know your equations and can think in terms of numbers, you will go far in this matrix system and your IQ will skyrocket on the tests. In essence, these tests are created to test you in a way that the overlords can see how valuable you are or will be as a working slave. Those of higher intelligence can get higher positions because they can accomplish more for the industry and thus bring in more money instantly or as an investment for the future. This is what we call the, between quotation marks, logical mind. There's nothing wrong with the logical mind, of course. It depends on how we use it. It is still a matrix mind and limited to what we experience in the matrix. And it has little to do with our existence in the greater universe, which is the Orion universe. We who are on our way out can still use our conscious mind and our intelligence to figure things out. But if that is all we have, it will lead us nowhere. A high emotional and spiritual intelligence is way superior to the conscious mind and left brain intelligence if we are spirited beings. All the conscious mind is a more individuated way of thinking compared to the other two minds mentioned earlier. Still, when we use our logical mind, it is influenced by the other two. And even when we think outside the box, so to speak, using our conscious mind, our thinking is operating from within the matrix and about the matrix. The trick is to use it as a springboard to achieve access to our spiritual, universal mind that exists outside the matrix. When we do that, we truly use our intelligence to do something useful rather than supporting the matrix and the con kings, whose ultimate goal is our complete and total destruction, and not only from us, but also from each and every life form on this planet. In the long run, unless we get our act together, all we do is to help them terminate us and also terminate other life forms such as animals, nature, and so on. As last, The divine mind. So what is the divine mind? Because we have amnesia and only now start waking up, we cannot say with a great certainty exactly how the universal mind operates. But there are clues based on what we have learned in our metaphysical studies. Here in the matrix, we think our conscious mind is the highest aspect of self, which is not the case at all. Once we are out of the matrix, we will no longer need what we call the conscious mind because it belongs entirely to the matrix. And it is created here to support the matrix system by using its so-called intelligence, which is highly valued here. Our consciousness and awareness go back to before the matrix was constructed and we got complete amnesia. So, if the conscious mind is not us, but a matrix construction, what is, between quotation marks, us? We are a composite of all our experiences across the lines of time since the day we were born as three-unit composites on Tiamat. And three-unit composite is soul, mind, spirit. Our conscious mind is limited to only one lifetime. When we die, we are still in the matrix, but in another density known as the astral. And still in our astral body, which is the artificial soul slash avatar, it dissolves eventually and we are steered in the direction the afterlife crew has determined for us, usually leading through the holographic tunnel of false light and to the recycling center. There, the personality we had in our previous incarnation is destroyed, and we get a blank slate, whereafter they recycle us into a new body. From there, we build a completely new personality, and thus the wheels keep spinning, and we struggle on from incarnation to incarnation. So, how can our conscious mind be our personality if it is wiped out and changes every lifetime? Once we are out of the trap, re-entering the greater universe slash Orion, and reuniting with our higher three-unit composite, we regain total recall of what we have experienced during our time in the matrix. In Atlantis, before that, and on Tiamat, where we were born. That combined will be our true personality, and from there and without amnesia, we can evolve further, having all these experiences under our belts. Because we humans were born with spirit, between brackets, spirit body, we have access to the entire universe, between brackets, multiverse. And we can travel freely with our minds anywhere we want, across the physical and spiritual dimensions. Being human means we must be composed of three units: a soul, a mind, and a spirit body. However, I would suggest, because it seems logical, that these three units are all parts of the spirit body and not separate. By that I mean our human soul is the equivalent to our avatar, which comprises spirit fire. Thus, the soul becomes our body. The soul becomes our body, comma, and the soul dash body becomes our divine mind. We are born human and we are truly immortal in every sense of the word. So, this whole idea that we need to become immortal through technology and through the metaverse singularity, that is total bullshit because we are already immortal. The ones who are luring us into this false belief, they are the real mortals because they are mortal. They don't have spirit and thus no spirit body. But we humans, we have spirit and thus a spirit body. And so we are already eternally living beings. So this whole construct of luring us into a technological eternity is completely nonsense and is being used to make us falsely believe that we are mortal and to lure us through this false belief into the singularity metaverse, which is a digital technological copy of the pleroma. So the ones whom have created this, they are creating their own idea of the pleroma. And they try to lure us in so that they can use us there too. Well, better said, abuse us. And we are truly immortal in every sense of the word. I believe we will exist as ourselves even when the universe ceases to exist. So why do I think so? Well, because that is how our creatrix, Sophia, who is the ultimate spirit, is constructed, and we are her. She, Sophia, the divine prime creatrix, created us from herself. Sophia can exist outside and within any universe. Therefore, comma, so should we, keeping our divine minds intact. But for now, we know very little about what we may experience in the higher realms of the Ka, which is the spirit universe, but I guess we will find out soon. And with this said, I have come to the end of going through this first chapter of this amazing book, Simulations and the Wheels of Time in the Developing Worlds. You see a cover image in the main picture of today. The next time I am going through the chapter titled, What is a Simulation? So that will be also an interesting chapter. Um, and then I think after that one, I will go back to the book, The Battles Between Shadow and Light, for the chapter 11 that is all about the consummation of the age, but then described as it should have to be and go. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in through Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Thank you for listening along. I truly and sincerely hope that this information is food for your spirit. Please ponder upon it and meditate upon it. Ask your own spirit to help you to clarify the information, um, and start using your spirit. And the more we start to use our spirit, the more we strengthen this connection, the lesser we have to find the things in the outside world. As Spirit told me, books are nothing more than just another source of information where you take out the things that you can use and then you lay it aside. And when it's needed, you pick it up again and take these things out of it that needs to be taken out at that moment. So Spirit said humanity should not cling unto books only. They should start working with their spirit because it is their spirit, which is the composite of Geradamas, the perfect human, and Pistis Sophia. Their spirit fires have become one, and that is our spirit. So please, let's work with our spirit. And the more we work with it, the more we strengthen it, the more we are also helping ourselves to be reconnected with our higher self, this 3-unit composite. All right. Again, thank you so much and have a beautiful, joyful day. We here in the Netherlands have sun, so I hope you too there, wherever you are in the world, and that your day may be filled with joy, love, wisdom, truth, and revelations, all coming from your own spirit, from your 3-unit composite. So I see you the next time, and let us listen to another beautiful piece of music called Adventure from Ben Sound. Thank you so much and see you the next time. It could be later on the day that I do this similarity chapter, but I'm not sure. I will have myself led by my spirit if to do so. All right. Again, thank you so much and have a beautiful, joyful day, and see you next time.